Hi, this is Usha. Welcome to Rathod Science classes. Today in this lecture, we are going to see current affairs of 9th May 2021. In this lecture, we are going to discuss 7 topics which are very much relevant to UPSC. So let's get started with our discussion and let us see first article. Title says Top Court orders immediate decongestion of all prisons. So this article mainly focusing on this decongestion of prisons. So why we need to talk about this decongestion of prisons now? Because now we are in second wave of this coronavirus and infection rate is very much high, and also we are seeing more than 4 lakh cases, that is more than 3.5 to 4 lakh cases that are registering every day, and there are about 4,000 deaths that are happening because of this coronavirus every day. So as you all know that these prisons are also very highly compacted people, they are present in those prisons. So because of this, there is increased risk of transmission of this coronavirus among prisons. And in prisons, we can see many people, there are more than 3.3 lakh people, they are under trials itself. So because of this, when we are going for decongestion of these prisons, then it will save life of many people. So this article will be important regarding GS paper 2 under governance. So now let us see this article in a great detail. So if you see context, it mainly says that Supreme Court has turned a humanitarian eye on over 4 lakh prisoners. They are present inside jails and these jails are overcrowded. Okay. So why this decision taken by Supreme Court? Because second wave of pandemic mainly continues its devastating run across country. So because of this decision taken by Supreme Court. And if you are talking about some details regarding this article, it mainly says that Supreme Court ordered police mainly to take a leave from court's judgments, and it need to prevent overcrowding in jails such that we can decrease transmission of this coronavirus. And court also specially stressed on not ordering detention, and court said for mechanical manner involving in punishment of less than or up to 7 years of imprisonment. So here especially court mainly stressed on punishment which mainly have if any crime which have punishment of about 7 years or less than 7 years, and here Supreme Court ordered for detention in these cases of punishment more than or less to the 7 years. And court also ordered some special committees or high power committees that need to be set up by states and as well as union territories to screen prisoners and to release them on interim bail. So these are some important things which are said in this article. And now let us try to see facts and as well as data regarding prisoners in India. So if you see first one here is, in India there are around 1400 prisons are present, and among this 1400 present, it is mainly housing for about 5 lakh prisoners. Okay, and now these prisons, they are overcrowded and they are facing threat of transmission of this coronavirus. And if you see in India, we do not have proper data on prison statistics in public domain. So this is one cause of concern here. And if you're talking about criminal laws which are regarding this under trials in India, so according to Prisons Act of 1894, here prisons mainly comes under exclusively responsibility of a state government. So even according to National Crimes Record Bureau, that is NCRB data, according to 2009 report, it says that about 4.5 lakh prisoners are present in our prisons, and out of these 4.5 lakhs, 3.3 lakh people, they are under trial only. And out of 3.3 under trial people, 2.2 lakh, they are not likely to be even charge sheet or FIR filed against them. So because of this, we can see there is huge violation of human rights that is seen in case of under trial prisoners. And if we are talking about this under trial prisoners, they are detained under section 167 of Criminal Procedure Code, and this section 167 provides for procedure when investigation cannot be completed within 24 hours, and we came with some amendments to this. Okay, and we extended to 90 days, and also some exceptions they are given under this amendment. There is indefinite period. So these are some important things that you should remember regarding this topic. And now let us see next article. Title says probe to digging construction activities in Kaziranga. So probe means inquiry, okay, inquiry regarding digging and some construction activities in Kaziranga. So you all know about this Kaziranga National Park, right? So it is located in state of Assam. So it is one of important national park and also even tiger reserve. And this Kaziranga, it is famous for one-horned rhinoceros and as well as tigers and also even Asiatic buffaloes. So this article will be important regarding GS paper 3 under environment and ecology. So first let us see map of this Kaziranga, where it is exactly located. So here this is map of Northeast India. Here we have Arunachal Pradesh. Here we have Assam. So here we have this Kaziranga National Park. So you have to remember this location, and I will suggest you please open your atlas and see which rivers are flowing in this region. So that will be very important. So now let us try to talk about this article in a very great detail. So this article mainly talking about Kaziranga National Park, right? So if you see context, authorities from Assam's Golaghat and Nagaland district, they had been probing, they had been inquiring in case of digging or else clearance of a forest land, digging and also some construction activities in this 3 animal corridors in this eco-sensitive zone in Kaziranga National Park. So what is the meaning of this? So authorities of Assam, they are going for inquiry whether there are some cases of clearance of a land, that is forest land, digging, construction activities in the 3 animal corridors that are located in this Kaziranga National Park. So this is context. And now let us see what is importance of these 3 corridors. So if you see, these corridors are very important for rhinoceros, elephants, tiger, deer and also other animals to escape from this flooded Kaziranga during monsoon rainfall. So as we know, one river which is flowing through this Kaziranga National Park, and let me know about name of that river in comment box. So because of increased rainfall or monsoon rainfall in this northeastern area, okay, so this river which is flowing through this national park, which is flooded frequently. So whenever this river which is flooded here, the animals which are present in this area, they use these 3 animal corridors to save their life, and they escape mainly to Kirby analog district through these 3 animal corridors. But whenever we are going for any developmental activities, clearance as well as digging, construction activities, so this will affect mainly this this habitat of these animals by whenever there is monsoon rainfall, they are using these 3 animal corridors. So because of this, whenever we are going for developmental activities in this area, that affect habitat of this animals. And now let us talk about some facts regarding this Kaziranga National Park. So this Kaziranga National Park located in state of Assam, and it is one of single largest undistributed and representative area in Brahmaputra Valley floodplain. And if you're talking about legal status, it declared as National Park in year 1974, and it was declared as Tiger Reserve in year 2007. And if you're talking about international status of this Kaziranga National Park, so this national park was declared as UNESCO's World Heritage Site in 1985, and also it's recognized as important bird area by BirdLife International. So this is about international status of this Kaziranga National Park. And if you're talking about other important national parks which are located in the state of Assam, they include Dibru-Sakhova National Park, Manas National Park, Nameri National Park, Rajiv Gandhi Orang National Park. So you have to remember these facts for sure. And now let us see next article. Title says Kuchipudi loses its humble ambassador to COVID-19. So this article mainly is talking about this Kuchipudi. So this Kuchipudi, which is very important under static syllabus, which comes under art and culture under GS paper 1. And this topic will be important regarding both the prelims and mains. So now let us see context here. So Kuchipudi village is located in state of Andhra Pradesh in Krishna district. So in that area, one Indian classical dance of Kuchipudi that flourished. Okay. So in area of Kuchipudi village in Andhra Pradesh district, Andhra Pradesh state in Krishna district here. So this Kuchipudi flourished. And now there is death of multifaceted Pasumarthi Keshav Prasad. Okay, so because of the death of this Pasumarthi Keshav Prasad, so here this Kuchipudi village in Krishna district, lost its ambassador to Indian classical dance form, that is Kuchipudi. So regarding this, we need to know some facts regarding this Kuchipudi. So in India, we have 8 classical dances. So Kuchipudi is one of them. Okay. So if you see context, it mainly says that Pasumarthi Keshav Prasad lost life, who was ambassador to Indian classical dance from Andhra Pradesh state regarding this Kuchipudi. So because of this is in news. And now let us see some facts. So this Kuchipudi is one of classical dance forms of India, and this dance form emerged from popular theatrical art in Andhra Pradesh. So this Kuchipudi Yakshagana, named after place of its origin, that is Kuchipudi, located in state of Andhra Pradesh. And if you say this Kuchipudi, which is one important component that you should remember here, is there is Tarangam. Tarangam means there is a brass plate here. So on this edges of this brass plate here, dancer will stand and he will dance, or he or she will dance. This type is called as Tarangam. And next one is musical instruments mainly used belongs to Carnatic music. They include Mridangam, Veena, flute, and as well as Tambura. So these are some important things that you should remember regarding this topic. Now let us see next article. Title says European Union, India relaunch free trade agreement talks, sign connectivity partnership. Okay. So this article mainly focusing on India, European Union relations. So this topic will be very important regarding international relations, which comes under GS paper 2. And I didn't add any facts regarding this European Union because in our PIB and also in our Hindu, we discussed number of times regarding facts of this European Union. So please revise those facts. This is your work. And this article mainly talking about India-European Union relations. So if you see context, it mainly says that India and European Union agreed to relaunch free trade negotiation. So already we had free trade agreement between India and European Union, but in 2013 we resumed or we suspended from this free trade agreement with European Union. Now we are going to relaunch again this free trade agreement between India and European Union. So because of this is in news. And now let us talk about some important details which are given in this article. European Union India leaders meeting that held virtually. So in this meeting, they discussed about COVID-19 recovery plans between these two nations and as well as between these two, that is European Union and as well as India. And next one is they also talked about vaccine cooperation and they adopted a connectivity partnership document. Okay, so this document outlining plans to cooperate on digital and as well as infrastructure projects here. And here in this meeting, they also signed second tranche of $150 million from European Union for development of this Pune Metro Rail project. And in this context, one important thing that you should highlight here is India failed to secure support from European Union leaders regarding patent waivers of COVID-19 vaccine at WTO. We discussed about this patent waiver in a very great detail in our 2 days back Hindu analysis. So please revise that. So as we know, US gave some support to this patent waiver regarding this COVID-19 vaccine at WTO, but here European Union mainly did not accept it for this patent waiver. And here they also came up with a joint statement after meeting, and in this joint statement, European Union agreed to work towards mainly balanced, ambitious and comprehensive and mutually beneficial trade agreement that will finally help to respond to current challenge and as well as to launch negotiations for stand-alone investment in protection agreement on GI tags, that is geographical indication tags. So here finally they came up with some joint statement, okay, and in that joint statement they agreed to work regarding balanced, ambitious and comprehensive and mutually beneficial trade agreement. So this agreement will be very much helpful to address or to respond to current challenge regarding stand-alone investment protection regarding these geographical indications. And next one is India and European Union. They also came up with connectivity partnership, okay, and from both the sides they committed regarding working regarding digital, energy and transport, people to people connectivity, transparent and visible, including inclusive and as well as rules based approach in this region. So this is about gist of this topic. And now let us see next article. Title says WHO approves Chinese Sinopharm vaccine. So this article mainly talking about Chinese vaccine of COVID-19, that is Sinopharm. So why we need to remember this topic? Because already WHO gave approval for some of important vaccine candidates across countries, but this is China's first vaccine to got this approval from Sinopharm. So because of this article will be very important, and please refer some important facts regarding this WHO also. So this article will be important regarding health, which comes under GS paper 2. So whenever here WHO gave approval for this Sinopharm, it will be also helpful for many countries, okay, to fight against this COVID-19 pandemic, because Chinese, it is very famous for exporting, right? So whenever any country which is the least developed country, or we can say developing country, they do not have access to this proper technology of production of vaccines, and they can import now from this China. Okay, that is Sinopharm vaccine. So it is very important. And now let us try to see this article in a greater detail. So this article mainly talking about WHO, that is World Health Organization, gave approval for this Sinopharm COVID-19 vaccine for emergency use. So why it is important? Because it is the first Chinese vaccine to receive this WHO green light. So if you're talking about details of this article, it mainly says that United Nations agency signed off 2 doses of this vaccine. So even this vaccine got approval from this WHO. So already this vaccine already being deployed in dozens of countries around the world. And next important thing here is 6th vaccine to receive. This is the 6th vaccine to receive WHO validation for safety, efficacy and quality. And other vaccines which got emergency use approval, or we can say green signal from WHO, they include Pfizer, Moderna, Johnson & Johnson and as well as AstraZeneca. And if you're talking about some facts regarding this vaccine, so WHO mainly recommended to take 2 doses of this Sinopharm shots that should be taken within 3 to 4 weeks. And next one is vaccine efficacy for symptomatic and as well as hospitalized cases of this COVID-19, and vaccine efficacy mainly found about 79%. So these are some important things that you should remember regarding this article. And now let us see next article. Title says wildlife forensics helps cause of pangolins. So this article mainly focusing on this pangolins. So this article will be very much important regarding environment and ecology. So why we need to focus on this pangolins? So these pangolins are mainly listed under Schedule 1 of Wildlife Protection Act. But these pangolins, they are highly trafficked animals. Because if you see this animal pangolin, it really contains some scales here. So there is some belief like these scales, they can be used in ancient traditional medicine in China. So because of this large scale of poaching that is seen regarding these pangolins. And finally, we also placed this Indian pangolins and Chinese pangolins under critically endangered and also endangered status in our IUCN Red List. So even though we are providing great protection to these pangolins, we can see poaching, it is one of important threat. So because of this article will be important. And now let us try to see this article in a great detail. So if you're talking about these pangolins, context here is pangolins, they are one of world's most trafficked mammal, mainly to enforce some appropriate national and also international laws to track this decline of this species. Recently, Zoological Survey of India, which developed some tools here. Okay, so this tools helps to recognize whether they belongs to Chinese pangolin or Indian pangolin. Okay, so now let us try to see about details of this article. So if you see study, it mainly talked about morphological feature. That means based on seeing like size, shape, color, etc., we can identify whether they are belonging to Indian pangolins or Chinese pangolins. And next one is this study also investigated genetic variations between 2 species, and they came up with sequencing of 624 scales. And by comparing sequences in 8 pangolin species, we can identify them based on their morphological characters like size, shape, weight, and as well as ridge count on their scales. So if you're talking about how we can go for identification of this species, first one is we can identify by using simple morphological characters. For example, we can go for measuring of size of that scales by using vernier calipers. Okay, and next one is wildlife officer. They can just weigh and estimate whenever they sees any material here. So they can go for weighing of this amount of scales here. So by finding weight here, we can identify how many pangolins might be killed. So if you're talking about single mature pangolin, for example, Chinese pangolin, the scales mainly weigh between 500 to 700 grams. But Indian pangolin, it weighs about 1.5 to 1.8 kg. So why scales are very much high, or weight it is high in Indian pangolin rather than this Chinese pangolin? So if you see tail part here, so in this tail part also, under this, that is beneath or back side of this tail also, in Indian pangolin it is covered by scales, but this Chinese pangolin will not be covered by scales at back side of the tail. So because of this, we can get more number of scales in Indian pangolin rather than this Chinese pangolin. So now let us try to see what is a way forward, or what can be done, what is need now. So Geological Survey of India came up with one important diagnostic tool, but we need to provide some training and skill building workshops for law enforcement agencies, for example Forest Department, Police, Revenue, and as well as Wildlife Crime Control Bureau, etc. So if you're talking about facts regarding this article, it mainly says that out of 8 species of pangolins which are present worldwide, so we have Indian pangolin and Chinese pangolin, they are mainly found in India. So if you're talking about Indian pangolin, so it is one of large anteater covered by scales. So there are about 11 to 13 rows of scales on back, and even terminal scale, that is for tail part also, we can see these scales are present at lower side. And if you're talking about threats of these pangolins in India, first one is hunting, it is one of important threat. Poaching for local consumption regarding protein source and as well as some traditional medicine. So hunting and poaching is one of important threat. And next one is international trade for its meat and as well as scales in East and as well as Southeast Asian countries very high. For example, China and Vietnam. And if you're talking about protection status of these pangolins, Indian pangolin listed under endangered in IUCN Red List, and Chinese pangolin listed under critically endangered in IUCN Red List. And if you see this, both species, they are listed under Schedule 1 of Part 1 of Wildlife Protection Act of 1972. So these are some important things that you should remember regarding this topic here. Okay, so this article mainly says that study finds vaccination correlated with lowering of infections. So this article mainly says that whenever we are taking vaccines, so these vaccines will produce antibodies. So because of this antibodies, here we can see there will be lowering of infections. So this study mainly published in Journal of American Medical Association. Okay, so this study mainly regarding Pfizer vaccine. Okay, and now next article here, title says that study reveals interesting facet of novel coronavirus. So to understand this article, you need to know some basic background regarding this coronavirus. So coronavirus mainly have genetic material that we have RNA here, and RNA which is mainly capsuled by some encapsid. Okay, so this is called as nucleocapsid. So on this nucleocapsid, we will be having many proteins. So one of important protein here is a spike protein. So this spike protein is very important because they will be attaching to ACE receptor here, and finally they will enter into our body. So because of this, many studies which are regarding treatment and as well as vaccines, they are focused on the spike proteins. But this new study says that this nucleocapsid will also have an important role in this infectivity of this novel coronavirus. So if you're talking about context, it mainly says that studies of coronavirus, they are largely focused on its spike protein. But this new study, mainly conducted by IISER Bhopal, found that even other proteins, for example nucleocapsid proteins and N proteins, they may be responsible for infectivity of virus. So if you see some details, it mainly says that here SARS coronavirus, that is novel coronavirus, consists of RNA genome, that is RNA DNA material, which is mainly present inside spherical capsule here. So this spherical capsule will also contains multiple proteins, like not only the spike proteins. Spike protein is one of protein of that nucleocapsid. So here this study mainly says that spike protein which is responsible for entry of virus into our body. So most of these targeted studies, they focused on the spike proteins. So here study mainly says that whenever we want to go for testing of any formulation or any vaccine materials, scientists, they cannot use live virus, but they will use some pseudotypes. Okay, and in this pseudo type of virus, they will have core which is very much different to nucleocapsid. So here we are using this capsid which is a very harmless and which mainly encapsulate it in a lipid protein sphere here. So finally this study found that spike protein do not act in isolation, but even here other proteins in this nucleocapsid, they will have effect on infectivity. Okay, so spike protein along with other proteins that are present in this nucleocapsid, they will be responsible for infectivity of this coronavirus. So this is gist of this topic. I hope it is clear. Yes, today is Sunday. There is essay writing practice. So today's topic is India need a roadmap to address Maoist insurgency. So recently we studied about this Maoist insurgency number of times in our Hindu analysis and try to write essay on this topic. So you have to write essay within 1.5 hours and you have to write essay within 750 words. By this we are concluding today. I hope you enjoyed this lecture. Please subscribe to my channel and don't forget to like, share and comment my videos. And don't forget to enroll this current affairs package. So one thing I want to make before concluding here is, actually we came up with one course which is very helpful for clearing of UPSC 2022. So name of this course is current affairs package along with mains answer writing practice. So this course will be very useful to clear this UPSC 2022. So if you see here why this course is important. So one thing you need to remember here is before entering into examination hall, you need to know at least 1.5 years current affairs. And this is right time to join this course to cover this 1.5 years current affairs in a comprehensive way. And this is why you need to focus on this current affairs. About 50 to 60% of questions, either it may be prelims or mains, and even in interview, you will be getting questions from this current affairs. So mastering of current affairs is very important to clear UPSC. And next one is mains answer writing practice. Especially beginners who are freshers, they ignore this mains answer writing practice. Even though if they cleared UPSC prelims, they cannot clear mains without having proper answer writing skills. And in this course, we are exclusively focusing on how to improve your answer writing skills. And next one is, if you join this course, we also conduct prelims test on every Sunday. And we also provide you video explanation part. So in this way, this course it is designed as per demand of UPSC. Finally, I want to say one thing. Please don't take this course as a choice. Try to join this course as soon as possible and achieve your dream of clearing UPSC. By this, we are concluding. Thank you so much.